From Journey with VRD, you're listening to the Visions, Missions, and Manifestations podcast, the number one place for spirituality, healing, and transcendence. I'm your host, Vivian Raquel Dayan. Now let's get into it. Hey everyone, just a quick disclaimer that within the first 10 minutes of this episode, there is a meditation. So please do not listen to it while driving. Just skip, go to minute 10, and you should be fine. Please do not drive and meditate at the same time. Okay, now let's get into it. Hi everyone, I'm still feeling like I'm on cloud 9 after the manifestation talk I gave earlier this week at DSN. What an incredible crowd we had. You all asked great questions, which showed me that you were all really understanding the concepts and were actually learning how to build the next layer to create and to manifest the next level of your life. One that doesn't only look good from the outside, but actually even feels even better to live and be a part of. One exercise I had everyone do is one that I'm going to invite you guys to do right now. I want you to gently close your eyes. I'm inviting you right now to close your eyes and take 3 deep breaths, 3 long deep breaths at your own pace. Good. That's it. I want you to think about all the stresses in your life that are taking up big, expensive real estate in your mind right now. Recognize your current stresses, your anxieties, your fears right now. And just imagine that all of these things that are keeping you stopped and blocked just no longer have such a big hold on you. They no longer have such a big hold on you. Imagine the things you fear and stress about just dissipate. Good. That's it. Like little beads of water, your stresses just roll off of you. Now imagine, go through a day in your life, keeping your eyes closed, a day in your life where your fears and stresses don't hold you down, where they're not in the forefront of your mind. What would your day look like if you had everything you wanted? If all your worries and fears didn't stop and block you from going after your dreams? What would your life feel like? How would you be showing up differently? How would you walk? How would you talk? What filters would you have on your speech and with the things you listen to? What types of friends would you have? And if you're having a hard time imagining this, just pretend. Just pretend what it would be like. Now, what if I told you that this could become your reality, that you can live a life where your stresses, your anxieties, your fears just don't have a hold on you, where they don't stop and block you from living a life that feels amazing, doesn't just look good, but actually feels purposeful, full of fulfillment. And guess what? A life where everything you do gets to be fun and easy, where you get to be in flow. What if I told you that if you're ready, I'm ready to help you get there. If you're ready to get to the next level of your life, where life gets to be fun and easy and flirty and sexy, and you just get to put the you back into your world, okay? If you're ready for that, then you can use code Ep.20, that's all caps, EPI20, for 10% off your next journey with VRD. I am so looking forward to connecting with you and getting you to your next level, your next layer of life, where you get to live your manifested reality. You no longer have to live in autopilot. You no longer have to have the world happen to you. You get to co-create with God, with the universe, and live your best freaking life. It no longer gets to be a cheesy saying. It gets to be a reality. And I'm so excited to help you get there. To book your next session, to use code Ep.20, go to www.journeywithvrd, click begin, and let your manifestation story start now. Okay, now to episode 20.
Hello.
Hi, how are you?
Great. How are you?
I'm good. I'm so excited to be doing this with you.
Me too. I'm freaking thrilled. And I just feel like you're going through so much right now, like so much exciting shit. Everything that you've been posting has been like one big thing after another.
I know so many big things, and it's crazy because I feel like everything doesn't stop moving. Like I'm in this,
Yeah.
there was a huge timeline shift in general, like I would say like a month and a half ago, I felt it, but I always feel the energy right before it happens rather than when we're in it. So if
Right.
I felt it a month and a half ago, it was probably like a month ago. And then I just feel like I'm in between timelines where like I still didn't
Hmm.
shift. Like, you know, when you're on a carousel and you keep missing like the
Yeah.
exit and you keep going over it, and not a carousel,
Yes.
what is that thing called? Do you know the wheel? What is that called? Not a
The
carousel,
Ferris wheel.
Ferris wheel. There we go. There
Yeah.
we go.
The way it's really interesting because my guides have been sending me the same information, but the narrative that they're giving me is we're going to send you a wave. You better learn to surf. So,
Exactly.
because the waves, it's coming whether you're ready for it or not. And you just got to be ready for, in your metaphor, the exit, right?
Right, you have to be ready for the exit. I feel like for me, it's like, wait, you're not ready yet. More things, more things. And it's like, I have a lot. I could get off now. I won all the prizes. But it's like, no, wait, there's more. But I'd love to introduce you to our listeners. I wrote you a little something something. Hi, everyone. I'm really excited about today's episode, which is the 20th episode of Visions, Missions, and Manifestations. Today, we have on Gina Love, who I met years ago on my manifestation journey. Gina is a Reiki healer who uses her intuitive gifts to help her clients manifest their desires. Gina, welcome to the podcast. It's so good to have you here. I'm so excited. How are you?
I'm freaking incredible. Thank you so much for that introduction.
Of course, of course. I wanted to start off by talking a little bit about what you do, what you call yourself, your title.
Yeah. Okay. So right now I'm exclusively doing in-person Reiki healing. I refer to myself as an intuitive healer. I think that kind of covers all of it. I also like to refer to myself as a spiritual tutor.
I love that, a spiritual tutor. Okay, tell us a little bit about what that means.
So in my mind, I know that there's a lot of like life coaches. I mean, you're a brilliant manifestation coach. There's a lot of coaches out there. And I think in the spiritual world, we can get mixed up with semantics and what things mean. And it's important to kind of change up the semantics so you can relate to more people. But I really like the diction of the word tutor because in my mind, it feels like we're sitting side by side and we're working on the work together in tandem.
That's beautiful. I really like that because I feel like there's so much spiritual, I'm going to say it, spiritual junk out there, and it could feel so overwhelming. Like, where do I start? What's real? What's not? And so I feel like a spiritual tutor kind of helps you take this massive library of information and really like narrow it down and curate it in a way for your clients to really understand what they're going through in a way that works for them, what they're going through.
Exactly. And I love kind of the imagery of when you have a tutor, the tutor is helping you with your homework. So it's more like supporting the idea too that I'm not creating things for my clients to do. We're going to work on things that are already happening in their life and things that they're already doing that they may not even be noticing that they're doing.
Beautiful. So, what intuitive gifts do you use in order to curate this experience for them?
I have so many. I think what gifts come up kind of changes depending on who I'm working with and what's going to resonate with them. I love that we both have our little goblets of beverage, by the way. It's so cute. So it comes up in different ways. I'm clairaudient, clairsentient, claircognizant, all of them pretty much. And they've kind of revealed themselves to me at different points of my journey. Yeah, it just changes person to person. And it's seems to be hand in hand with what they are going to resonate most with.
Ooh, I love that. That's a really cool. So one question I ask every guest on the podcast is, if you were to have a sixth sense or superpower, what would yours be?
I would really lean into my clairsentience because it's been very helpful to feel what other people are feeling. It can be a lot. I've been honing it this year and it seems to be the most like potent. Does that
I
make
love
sense?
it. Does make sense. So for somebody who doesn't know really what that is, can you explain how you feel that intuitive gift, how it shows up for you?
So clairsentience translates to clear feeling. A lot of people might use the phrase empath because they're feeling what other people are feeling. Another one of spiritual semantic stuff. There's different ways to say the same things. But the way it comes through for me is about 24 to 72 hours before I meet with a client, I start to feel in my body the sensations that they might be feeling in their body. And that comes through as like validation purposes. I mentioned to you in my email to you before this that I was struggling with some health stuff. So Spirit gave me pain in my lower right hip area because I met with a client who was experiencing pain in her lower right hip. And she
Wow.
needed that like potent. So when I was going over her forms when I was where I worked on her, she marked the section that said pain. And I was like, oh, okay. I didn't know where, I hadn't validated with her yet where it was. And so I'm learning more and more that I can trust these sensations and speak on them. So when she came in, I said, does this area on you happen to hurt? And she burst into tears. She was like, that is so creepy. How did you know that? So yes, that's how I experience it.
That is so cool. It's so interesting because I ask this question to all my podcast guests. I've heard this gift before. And it's cool
Hmm.
to see that like this is a gift that people have and it's not just being said by one person. It's becoming more normal for people to tap into their
Yeah.
gifts. And so I wonder for you, when was like that first experience where you're like, okay, wait a second. I have this thing that not many people talk about.
Earlier this year. Okay, here's the thing. I had an employee who now is my almost like my boss. He was explaining his clairsentience, and as he was explaining it to me, I'm like, that's bullshit. There's no way. Like that's not even real. Lo and behold, this year when I found out that I was losing my job and I had all this downtime to myself, I started to notice sensations in my body. And like I would say something to someone and feel like a visceral emotion in my body that didn't feel like mine. It just felt foreign. And I started to notice patterns that I was taking on whoever was in my vicinity's emotions. And then, of course, in hindsight, the more I noticed the patterns, I noticed that this has been happening for a long time. I just didn't have this space to accept it or give myself permission to take this on until this year.
Very cool. So, what did the journey to becoming a spiritual healer or spiritual tutor look like for you?
I literally had to be bullied into it. I am so grateful to my really good friend who kind of slapped some sense into me. Him and I worked together in my last job, and the things that I speak about spiritually are so integrated in myself. It's just something I think about all the time, things I casually talk about. And he sent me like a 4 paragraph text message after we all lost our jobs saying, if you don't effing do this, you're going to regret this for the rest of your life. But it was one of those things for me where it always felt inevitable. Like it was always going to happen. I just didn't understand how, where, what the logistics looked like. And you know, from any manifestation journey, that shit's not your business anyway. So I didn't let it be. But everything fell into place.
How cool is that? Because sometimes we could take something like losing a job and think like that's the end of the world. But I really am a firm believer in that rejection is protection. Every single
Oh my
thing
gosh.
that seems like the end of the world, like losing a job, is actually your greatest gift, putting you back on your path to your purpose.
Exactly. And what was so funny about that time in my life was that I was really reflecting on, okay, if I had all the money in the world and the job I had didn't matter, I could be paid to do anything, what would I do? What would I do? And my honest answer to that, my authentic answer was I wouldn't work. I wouldn't.
Wow.
Then I lost my job.
Wow.
And the studio shut down. So that showed me or proved to me again that universe is listening and always wants to give me what I want. And I got really excited because that opened up so much space for me to experiment and play and see what I wanted to do. But this journey into being a spiritual tutor, intuitive healer, it was like every perfect little door open for me to just gently land in the studio that I'm in, which is so beautiful. Floor to ceiling windows, statue of Archangel Michael outside the beautiful windows, like beautiful greenery and so many plants. It's just the I couldn't have written on a manifestation list. I would not have been able to fathom the beauty of this place. And I'm here. I get to go there almost every day, work with clients, hold space for them. I just am so blessed.
So there's a couple things here that I want to highlight. First of all, that you said, I couldn't have even imagined this for myself. And it's funny because a lot of
Mhm.
times I'll have clients be like, especially clients manifesting love, like, I want this specific person. And I say, you can't manifest for somebody else. So if they're not on the same wavelength as you, they are not going to manifest you back. And so what we like to do is make a list of our non-negotiables rather than a specific person, because what you're calling in, you might not even realize, but there's something even bigger that you can't even imagine. So when you stick to like your core values, your non-negotiables, then you give room to co-create with the universe. It's not just you, it's you plus a greater vision, a greater plan that sometimes we can't even see. So that was a really cool thing that you pointed out.
Exactly. It's gotten to the point now in my manifestation process that I don't even write things down anymore because it's almost limiting to write a list because I know for certain whatever I put on that dang list, it's going to be a quarter of what I receive or a tiny fraction of what actually happened. So I just leave the options open to universe. I give it options like preferences here and there, but as far as manifesting specifics, I don't do that anymore.
Going from maybe a more corporate job, quote unquote, safe job that like maybe your parents and your friends could understand, to being a spiritual tutor, was there any pushback from your family or your friends?
Honestly, no. I think I
Wow.
did this for them in a very gradual way because I shifted from big corporate, working for a 401k auditor to working in the wellness industry to then doing this now. So I think it was just gradual for them. Everyone in my life now understands that I'm just the kind of person that this kind of stuff happens to, because I demand it from the universe and they've seen my evidence over and over. So now when I make big choices like this, they're just like, all right, we'll see. All right, what kind of magic is she going to work this time?
So that's really good because I feel like having a support system that understands what you're doing, not only what you're going through, but also your dreams, and support you and celebrate you, is so big in
Mhm.
this. What would you say is your everyday client life like being a spiritual tutor?
Right now, I see about 3 clients a week. I'm pretty comfortable with that. And they come to me for all kinds of things. And it's really interesting to see their reasons and to try to understand their reasons. Sometimes they're just tired and they need a break. Sometimes they're going through some big emotional stuff and they don't really understand what emotions they're feeling or how to excavate them out of their body. And I can help support them in that. There's nothing I love more than a big cry out of my clients. It's like, oh, okay, I'm doing the real work with them. I'm bringing them and ridding them of these burdensome emotions so they can move on and go through their own up level. Yeah, I mean, every single time I go into a session with a client, I'm always nervous. That imposter syndrome never goes away. I'm always nervous, but nothing's gonna happen. But every single time something magical or something really potent comes through, and it is just over and over, just so devastatingly beautiful that I get to hold this space for other people.
Well, I love the way you said it.
Yeah. And it's really interesting when I talk about it. A lot of people assume, oh, that must take so much out of you. And it doesn't. It feeds me. I can go in feeling terrible or having a bad day or, something happened in traffic or, whatever. But I sit with my clients, I experience their energy. I channel the Reiki energy for them and it works on both of us at the same time. And it's just such a feeding experience. I haven't felt depleted by it at all, if not fed by it.
It's interesting you say that because I really feel that any work we do, what's happening is even though we're having a client or somebody walk through the door, the medicine is really to ourselves. Because in a really deep spiritual, conceptual way, we are all one split. And so everything, our entire reality, everything we see is a mirror of what's going on inside. And so something I probably say this once at least every 4 weeks on the podcast is that when you see something on the outside that you don't like, something in your outside world, we don't go ahead and shift something in the outside world because we can't control other people and other circumstances. What we do is we shift something on the inside, something about ourselves, because the outside is just a reflection of what's going on inside. And something that's really, really holy about serving, about being a spiritual tutor, about helping other people is that when you do what you are doing is you're being your own medicine, you're helping yourself. The people, the clients you get are just a reflection of the shadow parts of yourself or the inner shadow or the inner child parts of yourself that needs that nurture, love, and healing. And you get to like be the big sister or the mother or whatever it is to that part of yourself that you're now seeing in somebody else.
Oh my gosh, absolutely. I'm obsessed with shadow work. It's like it's so integrated in my everyday. Every single time I see or experience a trigger, it's like, oh, okay, that's something I have to work on, or let's look at these narratives that are coming up as patterns in my everyday. But yeah, it is such an honor. I feel like, since I'm sitting side by side with them as they kind of come across these big emotions that they need to process, I don't know how to explain it. I don't know. I just feel so honored that I get to validate the big emotions, the scary things, because I don't know if you remember the first time you saw your shadow and some kind of shadow work. It's pretty terrifying to see those aspects of yourself and to try to relate to them or even, let alone try to love them. But to get to sit next to somebody as they're having these experiences for the first time is so beautiful. I like cannot believe how lucky I am.
And on top of that, you give them the medicine, which is also giving yourself the medicine. So it's like a double win. It's like
Yeah,
you're helping them and you're
exactly.
helping yourself. So you get to like do the work even more. And just speaking a little bit about shadow work, I just wanted to shout out one of my favorite books on shadow, which is Dark Side of the Light Chasers. By
Mhm.
Debbie. I forget her last name, but I call her
Or
Debbie. Debbie Ford. There we go. I'll never forget the first time I read that book. I hated it. I was like, I'm perfect. I don't have any insecurities. I am amazing. This was back in 2021. I read it. I hated it. I read it at like before Journey with VRD. I was doing a book club, which is where I think we met. Was it in the book club?
with this book.
Yes. Yeah, with this book. That's so funny that I'm
Yeah.
bringing it up. That's so funny. Yes. And that was a book. And I remember thinking how much I hated the book. And I'm like, I don't like this. I am amazing. I am perfect. And then I read it again and I'm like, oh, okay, actually, there's so many things, so many insecurities and stuff that I need to work through because I don't want to hate these parts of myself or hide these parts of myself. And I love how Debbie says like every single quality about yourself can actually be a good thing, can be used for a good thing. And I just loved her whole reframe and all of that. So I wanted to shout that out because we were talking about it. And that's so cool that I remember the book club. I remember that's where we met. I didn't know which book we
Yeah,
read together.
yeah, it was that book. That is so funny. That book, it has been borrowed from me so many times by so many friends. So it just like is an endless giver of quality information. Everybody should read it.
Everybody should read. It was, yeah. If you're ready, if you're not ready to take accountability, it's not for you. Like me,
Oh
like
yeah,
the first time I
it's
read, I was
gonna
like,
trigger you.
trigger the frick out of me. It was. So I want to ask you, what do you do to cleanse in between clients and after your day is done? Because I know personally, after I see sessions, I take on so much emotion, so much gunk.
Yeah, I mean, like this is kind of a radical idea, but I don't cleanse.
Ah,
To me, it's like one, A, I don't really feel a need to, and B, I think this whole like the idea of needing to cleanse or the idea of needing to protect yourself comes from fear. And I don't know, it just doesn't resonate with me. So I don't do it. And I haven't really noticed that it's affecting me in a way that I feel like I need to, cleanse or recuperate. I leave every session feeling so fed and so energized that I don't even think about that.
Wow, good for you. I'm like after any talk I give, after any event, after every workshop, I feel so depleted that I have to sleep. For bigger things, I my body is just like shot. I feel starving. I could eat like the
Yeah,
biggest meal before. I'm so depleted. So that is so cool to hear. I need to know your sun, moon, and rising.
I'm a triple Taurus. I'm a Taurus,
Wow.
sun, moon, and rising. I think it's a important thing to point out that my Mercury is in Aries. I think there's a little juxtaposition there that kind of clarifies why I am the way I am. So super curious. What is your human design?
Oh, I'm just a generator. Oh, I'm 6'2". I'm the
6'2" generator. Okay.
exemplary human. Exemplary human. So
I love that. I don't know why. I just thought from what you just explained that you might be a projector, but no, that's really interesting. But I'm also a generator, and that's I identify with that, like why I can keep going with people. While when I'm around people and doing something that really lights me up, I just don't feel a need to come down from it. I'm just like,
I think when I have bigger groups, I'm holding so much energy for a lot of people and
mm,
taking a lot of deep emotional gunk that's been sitting with somebody for a very long time and transforming that energy. And it takes a toll on my body. It's
yeah.
actually, I've heard it's like running a marathon. So when you do energy work to that extent, it could feel, even though you didn't run a marathon, it can feel like you're hungry and tired as if you did.
And from what I could get a read on you was, remember what I said about your crown chakra, your, what was it, your throat and your sacral? They're turned on so high. So maybe that's what it is. Like you're just on and processing at such a high caliber that you just need to rest from that. That would make a lot of sense to me.
I need 12 hours of sleep every night or I'm not a normal human. Like
That is so validating. I freaking love that.
like I am not a night owl. I could wake up at the crack of dawn, but like the second it turns dark out, I'm sleeping. I get made fun of all
I
the time.
know.
Yeah, I'm
Girl,
a sun.
same. Very
Anyways.
sensitive girly.
Okay, so I wanted to ask you if somebody was starting on their spiritual journey, what would be three pieces of wisdom you'd give them to get started?
First thing I tell all my clients is if any healer, if any person in the metaphysical world is telling you that there is one right way and a wrong way to do anything, run for the hills. Not true. There's 1,000 ways to go on this journey, and you have to pick the one that resonates with you. And that's the most important part. That's one. I guess like they all have to do with just listening to yourself. The second would just be like, are you radically following your intuition regardless of where you think it's going to take you? Because that's going to strengthen your intuition over time and allow more information to come through. And the third, I guess, would be have the audacity.
Mm.
Just take on the audacity. You know, when you like see someone in a room and you're just kind of irritated at them, like what gives them the audacity? They did. They gave themselves the audacity. So give yourself the audacity to do the shit that you're afraid to do or do the shit that you think that you can't do. Just do it.
Hey everyone, it's Vivian, and I'm briefly interrupting this podcast episode because Gina Love, today's beautiful guest, is offering 20% off your first session with her. You can use code VRD20. The VRD is all caps and then 20. One word, VRD20 for 20% off your first session with her. You can book an appointment with her through her Instagram, either her personal account, which is at I am Gina Nicole, or her business account, which is Sunshine Healing. And through the link in bio, you can book a session. I'll also put this in the show notes so that you have the correct spelling for everything, so that you can make sure to get your session with her 20% off. I am so excited for you all to use this as a modality if it's calling to you to manifest the things that you are calling in your life. Okay. I'm really excited about this. If you go to her, please let me know how it goes. I'll see you soon. Okay, now back to the episode. I love it. And so, what rituals do you take part of and add into your daily practice in order to stay at such a high frequency?
Honestly, I really would love to start to deconstruct this idea that you have to do something to stay in this frequency because my relationship with source, my spiritual connection, I found it's not conditional. So if I wake up in the morning and I decide I want to meditate, journal, work out, or if I wake up in the morning and decide I want to scroll for 2 hours, in both circumstances, I'm equally spiritual. I'm equally connected. So I don't really, there's nothing specific that I do. I reinforce that idea. I look for evidence that I'm connected. And every time I see pieces of that evidence, it just adds to my pile of proof that I am connected at all times.
So what would that evidence look like for you?
Oh, signs and synchronicities, things that happen in my home that, like the other day, my lamp in my room was turning on and off by itself, and I got
Wow.
it on video. So yeah, I have an album in my phone, pictures of synchronicities and proof
Ooh, I
of
love
my
that.
connection.
How cool is
Yeah.
that? Okay, so maybe you don't have a ritual, and I do agree with the idea that you don't need to do the same thing every single day in order to stay connected. But would you say that there's something that you do, maybe a hobby, a habit, in order to raise your frequency, to get into that state? Because we are multidimensional humans that are flowing in and out of different experiences that don't always leave us in such a high vibe place. You know, we get angry. How do you come back to neutral?
Allow for the emotions to come through. Just make space for them. I actually have been practicing little phrases I can say in everyday conversation that allows space for my emotions to exist. Because if say you are out and about and something makes you angry and you're around other people, those other people might want you to repress that anger because they're not comfortable with seeing it or being around it, or they don't know what to do. So yeah, I've just come up with like little phrases I can say to ask for space in those times. Just, things like, oh, I just need a minute. I'm just gonna process this. It'll take maybe 90 seconds. I'm just gonna walk away and process this real quick. And that's helped a lot for my ability to get through my emotions quickly. And then it also creates more space to be in that frequency.
And you're really big on TikTok. I see a lot of your posts all the time, a lot of your videos, which are so fun, so cool. And you talk a lot about connecting with your guides. I've loved following your journey of talking to your guides, connecting with them, making that connection even stronger. Do you want to talk a little bit about that journey?
I've heard my guides for years. I think the first time I heard anything clairaudient was maybe 2016, and it was Archangel Michael. And I was sitting in meditation. I had just started meditating, and I heard Archangel Michael say, I love you, Gina. And it was that emphasis on the love that overcame my entire body. I felt completely enveloped in unconditional love. And that was that first time I felt that infinite beacon of love that's inside of all of us. Since then, I have quote unquote heard my guides in different ways. The information comes through as not necessarily like auditorily, but I hear behind my left eye, which is your feminine side, your receiving side. And yeah, just little phrases, little pieces of information will come through. And it's really interesting. Like, I really want to emphasize that when I'm receiving this information from my guides or quote unquote hearing them, I'm not really I'm not like, like doing anything specific or woo woo. It's in very mundane times, moments of my life. Sometimes it's even while I'm doom scrolling or like when I'm sob crying over my toxic ex. Like, it's in really mundane, like in times where you wouldn't assume that something spiritual would be happening is usually when the spiritual things are happening.
I love that you say that because when I get the messages and downloads, because I think there's different types. Like I could download a lot when I decide I want to make a reel or a TikTok. All of a
Yeah.
sudden, it'll just flow out of me. If I'm journaling, all of a sudden it'll flow out of me. But then there's times where like I'm doing laundry or I'm about to go to sleep or I'm sleeping or I'm waking, brushing my teeth. And all of a sudden, I'll just get a little message. And I don't hear it as much as I see it. I'm like a really big
Yeah.
seer. Sometimes I'll hear a little like um I'll hear a song will start playing in my head and it will keep
Yes.
on getting louder and louder and louder until I'm like, why is a song in my head? And I'm like, oh, that's so weird. I'm going through this. For me, it's more seeing and I see it sometimes with sounds, but more like you say, like just doing the everyday thing. And I think the meditating and the journaling and the staying true to yourself is what gives you the space to listen, to have the ears for it.
Definitely. Exactly. And there's trial and error to it too. Like, you might start your spiritual journey and assume that journaling is going to be your thing. And personally, I went through this of thinking journaling was the only way. And come to find out, I hate journaling. I hate it. It does not work for me. I feel very limited by having to make words and write them down. It slows me down. You have to find what works for you, but keep with anything having to do with this type of work, whether it's shadow work, whether it's, I mean, any spiritual journey, you have to keep coming back to it. Half-assed work is still work. Just keep coming back to it. That's the only rule.
What initiated your spiritual journey?
I've been through a series of up levels throughout my lifetime, but my first awakening was when I was 7. And I remember this moment like it was yesterday. I was standing in the quad of my elementary school. Like there were these lunch buckets that we'd bring back to the class. It was so silly. But I was standing in the quad and I dropped the lunch bucket and I remembered that I have incarnated before. And it just kind of came over me. And I had this really frustrated feeling in my body of, oh my God, I'm a kid again. I have to do this again. Like, I remember being really irritated by it. And then it was, I think I can attest that to, I had a surgery around that time. And, you know, when you go under anesthesia, you're closer, the veil is a lot thinner. A lot of people go through similar things to a near-death experience under anesthesia. So I think it was all happening around that time. And around that time also, I started doing this thing that I didn't know how to describe at the time, but come to find out I was working on my chakras in the car. I was clearing my chakras. I would sit on long car rides in my mom's minivan, and in my mind's eye, I would see these pools of energy in different points in my body. I had no idea what a chakra even was at the time. And in my mind, I would place a feather in it and see what the feather would do. And then I would try to control the feather to be, you know, spin more evenly. And I would feel a lot of relief after that. I had no idea I was meditating. I had no idea that I was clearing my chakras, but it was just like something fun that I would do with myself and didn't even tell anybody about it until probably 2 years ago.
Wow. Wow. That's so cool. What a kid. Okay. So you had the spiritual awakening. And then when did you realize, like, wait a second, not everybody does this? Or you're like, let me see if I could take this to the next level?
Okay, let's see. Okay, I want to say 2018 is when that aspect of it kind of started, when I was really diving deeper into what was happening to me. I woke up on January 1st, 2018, after a night of drinking all night long for New Year's Eve. Don't know how else to explain this besides like I was spiritually reamed by my team and my spirit council, I call them my team. I woke up that morning and they very kindly, with all the love in the world, ripped me a new one and they said, this is ending now. You are not going to drink anymore. And so over the next couple of years, I stopped drinking. I went vegan. I left my toxic ex. I completely started my life over. But during that time, it was like I was going through earth shattering up level after up level after up level. It was like I was clairaudient, and that was confusing. I was claircognizant, that was confusing. I had to go through upgrades, these spiritual upgrades, and then go through the process of integrating them slowly. But yeah, that happened around 2018. And it had always been in the back of my head that I could do something with this, that I could help people with this, but I just did not understand how. And I got a lot of messaging and narratives in my life that being an entrepreneur or having any business of your own was even more time consuming and even more depleting than working for corporate. You're working 60, 80 hours, you're working 24/7 pretty much. So I was really scared to try to apply it for myself in that way. But yeah, it wasn't until January of this year when I kind of was like, I have literally nothing to lose. I already lost my job. I
Right.
got nothing else to lose. I can only go up from here. So yeah, that's when I started to make some moves, I guess.
What's really awesome about this is that you've gone through it. You've gone through the upgrades, the up levels of like having to navigate your gifts, your guides, your counsel, and the lessons they were trying to teach you. And so I think that just is an asset as a spiritual tutor, because since you've gone through it, you have the history to help other people navigate their journeys.
Definitely. And specifically, I can see now that I had to go through it from so many different angles to give myself that experience so I can recognize it in other people. And I've lived so many lives. I can relate to so many different types of people and experiences. I didn't understand it at the time. It was devastating to have to go through all the loss, all of the just emotional crap that I've been through. But I always had the insight of feeling openly and to just wring out the emotions as fast as possible, which kept it manageable. And now I can definitely recognize it on clients when they come in. I can point it out quickly and we can work through it side by side.
Oh, I love that. What is a big vision and mission for you and your growth and with your company?
I think it's evolving. I think, I'm secure enough in myself right now to say, I don't know. I don't know. And it's growing and I'm waiting for it to show that to me. I think I've kind of just started and I'm playing and I'm having a really fun time playing and I'm just waiting for the mission to show up for me and I'll recognize it as soon as I see it.
So right now you're seeing clients both in person and I think just starting to see clients.
Just starting online, just beginning.
How long is a session online?
About an hour, give or take. Anything I think in this field fluctuates in time, but I try to stick to an hour.
So cool. And so are you reading energy only online or are you also, or even when you have a client in person, or is there more to it than just an energy reading?
So when I see somebody in person, I'm working on Reiki, so I'm fixing their energy and then the reading happens as a byproduct. And then I also do kinesiology readings. Emotional chakra clearing is what I'm trained in. So I go through each of your chakras, I go through a certain chart, and I work with my client's subconscious to find any blocked emotions in their chakras to help work through. It translates a little bit easier online than Reiki, but yeah, it's been a really beautiful process getting again to share that energy with my client.
Yes, I think I experienced a little bit of that with you the other day, and that was so cool. I loved it. So I know that our listeners definitely will. And I want to know what you're manifesting next in your life because it looks like you're a really good manifester.
What I really want more than anything is to be a mother. But I got a ways to go.
If people want to book a session with you, if they want to find you on social media, how do they go ahead and do that?
So I have a business Instagram that I just started, Sunshine Healing, SunShrine Healing. There's a link in the bio there to book with me. I have some really fun stuff coming up for like spiritual business accountability and just really things that I'm really excited about. And then I also have my personal Instagram and TikTok, which anybody is more than welcome to follow me. I have a lot of fun on those platforms. I'm a Gina Nicole on both.
Cool.
So there's a link in both bios that bring you to the same place. There's always a place to find me.
Amazing. And I'll put it in the show notes so that people can have the correct spelling and know how to find you. Well, thank you so much, Gina. It's been so much fun.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm just so grateful to have a chance to just chat with you. You're so inspiring.
Oh my gosh, thank you. It's been so much fun to talk to you. I love watching your journey. I'm the biggest fan. Hey, if you like this podcast episode, please download it, give us a nice review, and follow us on Instagram at Journey with VRD to get all the latest and the greatest updates. Till next week.